Hello there, very good evening. This is the weekend edition of Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesan. Let's start off with a look at your headlines for this evening.
Minister Kehelia Rambukwella remanded until the 15th of February, directed to prison hospital based on medical recommendation. Thailand Prime Minister in Sri Lanka to join Sri Lanka Independence Day celebrations. 3 agreements, including Sri Lanka-Thailand Free Trade Agreement, signed. All set for Independence Day celebrations. Special traffic plan in Colombo. Protest demanding economic justice in Colombo.
On to those stories in detail. Minister Kehelia Rambukwella has been remanded until February 15th after being produced before the Maliga Kanda Magistrate Court. This afternoon, prison spokesperson Gamini Disanayake stated that Minister Rambukwella had been admitted to the prison hospital based on medical recommendations.
Minister Kehelia Rambukwella, who was arrested by the Criminal Investigation Department yesterday, was produced before court this morning. Deputy Solicitor General Lakmini Girihagama, representing the Attorney General, told court that the investigation focuses on allegations of conspiracy and aiding the process of supplying the human immunoglobulin drug to the Medical Supplies Division. The Deputy Solicitor General clarified that the legislature has established clear guidelines regarding the responsibilities and accountability of a cabinet minister upon assuming ministerial duties. She emphasized that the President delegates the scope and responsibilities of each ministry to the appointed minister, who ultimately holds public accountability for their assigned portfolio. The Deputy Solicitor General said the Minister of Health holds primary responsibility for producing a healthy population, providing safe medicines to the people, and ensuring accountability in these matters. She added that the Criminal Investigation Department's investigation focuses on how the minister, in collaboration with ministry officials, executed these assigned responsibilities. The Deputy Solicitor General added that the first suspect, Sudat Janaka Fernando, owner of the pharmaceutical company that supplied the drug, received 36 million rupees from the 1 billion rupee tender. She pointed out that all the money was withdrawn from the bank account the day after it was credited, raising suspicion about this transaction. Representing the Citizens Organization Against Bribery, Corruption and Waste, President's Counsel Nalindi Indithis, appearing for the victims of the case, argued that releasing the 8th suspect based on non-existent cabinet papers, claiming a health crisis, is unacceptable. The court also emphasized the need to investigate the potential impact of the bacterial solution on patients, raising a critical question about its extent. President's Counsel Anuja Premaratna, representing Kehelia Rambukwella, pointed out that only 4 of the 182 drugs authorized by his client had faced issues. He emphasized that this represents a practical reality. The lawyer said that his client suffers from a heart condition and has undergone leg surgery, requiring him to take 8 different medications for various health issues. Given his health concerns, he requested suitable security measures for his client. In light of the evidence presented, the magistrate ordered a thorough investigation into the misplaced files connected to the preparation of cabinet papers for his incident. Additionally, the magistrate has ordered comprehensive investigations to be launched, gathering reports from relevant hospital doctors on the complications experienced by patients following the use of drug.
This is a landmark event in Sri Lankan history. It sends a powerful message to the entire cabinet led by the President that no minister is above the law. Misusing public property arbitrarily, deviating from the Constitution or neglecting responsibilities assigned by the Cabinet Secretary will no longer be tolerated. The President establishes that documented evidence and witnessed facts can bring any minister before the court, regardless of a ministerial protection used in the past. As profession and civic organizations, we celebrate this first step towards holding ministers accountable for their actions. Let's acknowledge and commend the recent actions of our judicial system. particularly the Criminal Investigation Department. Despite facing challenges in the past, their courage in upholding the law and protecting the rights of citizens deserves our respect. The citizens of this country must not allow politicians to control the judiciary. It is the cornerstone of our freedom, and we are fighting for its independence. This fight is not about personal gain, but about protecting the rights of 22 million Sri Lankans and generations to come. It is our right enshrined in the Constitution to live free from fear and doubt. These rights are under threat due to bankrupt and self-serving politicians who have brought our nation to this state. Therefore, we urge all citizens to stand up for justice. Do not fear political leaders. The courts will uphold the law and defend your rights.
Multiple allegations of substandard medication surfaced during Kehelia Rambukwala's tenure as Minister of Health, suggesting that medicines provided by government hospitals were of poor quality. Several disturbing incidents have come to light, including deaths caused by allergic reactions to anesthetics and antibiotic injections used during surgery, and cases of blindness resulting from a medication administered during cataract surgery. The deaths of 2 women, including a pregnant mother at the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital while receiving treatment for a stomach ailment, and a young woman after being administered an anesthetic drug, have sparked significant controversy in the country.
Do you remember?
A 6-member committee was appointed to investigate deaths related to allergies. Of the 6 deaths they investigated, 5 were found to be caused by severe allergies.
Do you remember?
What is the human immunoglobulin scandal that led to these incidents? This issue came to light on the 27th of September. A controversy surrounded the Cabinet's decision to bypass the usual procurement process under the Indian credit line and abruptly purchase 182 medicines, citing a looming health crisis in the country. Even before the Cabinet of Ministers officially approved the procurement, activities related to importing the controversial drug had already begun. One of the imported drugs is human immunoglobulin, a costly medication derived from human blood and commonly used for serious neurological disorders.
Do you remember?
Reports emerged from certain hospitals regarding complications experienced by some patients who were administered the human immunoglobulin.
Do you remember?
When questioned by health trade unions and the media, the National Medicines Regulatory Authority denied issuing the letter, bypassing drug registration typically required for its import. Amidst accusations circulating among the Ministry of Health, Medical Supplies Division and National Medicines Regulatory Authority, no party fully accepted responsibility for the controversy surrounding the drug.
Do you remember?
A Newsfirst investigation uncovered that Isolis Biotech Pharma AG imported raw materials for the drug from overseas and manufactured it in Sri Lanka. The investigation also discovered that the company lacked the necessary authorization to produce such a drug.
Do you remember?
Courts revealed that the company produced the drug using blood obtained from a blood bank under the pretense of research.
Do you remember?
Do you remember the no-confidence motion brought against Kehelia Rambukwala? On the 8th of September 2023, the government defeated a no-confidence motion against the then Health Minister Kehelia Rambukwala by a 40-vote majority. The motion stemmed from alleged medicine shortages and patient deaths attributed to certain medications. 7 people, including the Health Ministry Secretary, officials and the company owner, were arrested over the scandal. President's counsel Karling Indathissa, representing the arrested owner, told court that the mastermind behind the transaction is a cabinet minister. He challenged the authorities to arrest this individual if possible. The Criminal Investigation Department visited Minister Kehelia Rambukwala's official residence to record his statement as part of the ongoing investigation.
Do you remember?
Demanding Minister Kehelia Rambukwala's arrest, a group of civil society activists staged a protest titled Kehelia Go Gamal outside the Criminal Investigation Department. 10 activists from the protest were subsequently arrested by the police. Minister Kehelia Rambukwala issued a statement explaining that he was summoned by the CID on the same day but could not attend due to a prior court case and a government meeting.
Do you remember?
The Maliga Kanda magistrate ordered Minister Kehelia Rambukwala to appear before the Criminal Investigation Department the very next day. Following the order, Minister Kehelia Rambukwala, who had arrived at the CID yesterday, was arrested.
The Prime Minister of Thailand, Sirasa Thavisin, arrived in Sri Lanka this afternoon for a two-day official visit. The Prime Minister of Thailand will be the guest of honor at the 76th Independence Day celebrations. Entering into new free trade agreements is also an aim of this visit.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena and a delegation welcomed the Prime Minister of Thailand and his delegation, who arrived in Sri Lanka aboard a Royal Thai Air Force plane. The official welcome ceremony for the Thai Prime Minister took place near the President's office. The Thai Prime Minister was received by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. A 19-gun salute was fired in honor of the Thai Prime Minister.
Honorable Prime Minister.
A delegation comprising 39 individuals, including the Deputy Prime Minister of Thailand, the Deputy Foreign Minister and high-level businessmen joined the official visit. After introductions and initial greetings, the two leaders engaged in a discussion. During their meeting, 3 agreements, including the Sri Lanka-Thailand Free Trade Agreement, were signed. Minister of Trade, Commerce and Food Security Nalin Fernando, representing Sri Lanka, signed the agreement, while Phumtham Wechayachai, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Commerce, represented Thailand by signing the accord. The government of Sri Lanka and Thailand also signed a new bilateral air services agreement. Minister of Ports, Shipping and Aviation Nimal Siripala de Silva signed the agreement for Sri Lanka, while representing Thailand, Jakapong Sangmani, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, signed the document. The Gem and Jewellery Research and Training Institute of Sri Lanka and the Gem and Jewellery Institute of Thailand also signed a memorandum of understanding.
The main focus of this visit is accelerating economic cooperation between Sri Lanka and Thailand. The Prime Minister and I witnessed the signing of the Sri Lanka-Thailand Free Trade Agreement a short while ago. This is the second FTA Sri Lanka is concluding with an ASEAN partner, the first being with Singapore. Sri Lanka has made significant progress in economic stabilization since the economic crisis of 2022. One of my principal strategies of economic growth and prosperity is to enhance bilateral trade, particularly with proven future potential of East ASEAN and ASEAN regions, including Thailand. We are ready to engage with external partners, and our aim is to ensure prosperity for our people. We believe there is expanded scope for cooperation between Sri Lanka and Thailand, building on the traditional friendship that we already have. One of the most foremost tenets of my government's foreign policy is deepening economic integration with Southeast Asian region. We also wish to be a part of the RCEP, which is the world's largest free trade pact, encompassing 15 Asia-Pacific economies and covering about 30% of the world's gross domestic product and population. As Sri Lanka begins to stabilize its economy and regain international confidence towards recovery and growth, we are looking at Thailand's support as Sri Lanka undertakes this very important journey of economic transformation and integration with Asia.
I believe that the signing of the free trade agreement today will significantly boost bilateral trade and investments in the years ahead. With this historic momentum, we encourage our private sectors to explore the potentials of this two-way trade and investment. Apart from the free trade agreement, 2 important MOUs were also signed today. First, the new air services agreement, which will enhance our connectivity, tourism, and logistics. Second, the MOU between the Gem and Jewellery Research and Training Institute of Sri Lanka and the Gem and Jewellery Institute of Thailand. Thailand aims to be the logistic hub in Southeast Asia with our land bridge project connecting the Andaman Sea with the Gulf of Thailand and reducing the transit time between the Pacific and the Indian Ocean. Thailand and Sri Lanka can also join hands in strengthening the connectivity between Landbridge and Colombo Port.
He also said that Thai Airways International will resume daily commercial flights between Bangkok and Colombo next month.
On tourism, I'm pleased to announce that Thai Airways International will resume daily commercial flights between Bangkok and Colombo March 31st of this year. A trilateral collaboration on a three countries cruise tourism between India, Sri Lanka and Thailand. The visa-free arrangements will enhance people-to-people connections and promote economic cooperation after the signing of FTA. Both sides will further discuss on having a memorandum of understanding on visa exemption, which would be an effective tool to stimulate two-way tourism.
All arrangements are in place to hold the 76th Independence Day celebrations tomorrow at Golface Green. The theme of this year's Independence Day is Let's Build a New Country. President Ranil Wickremesinghe will preside the 76th Independence Day celebrations, with Thai Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin serving as a guest of honor. This year's Independence Day celebration will feature a multitude of spectacular events, with a march by members of the Tri-Forces, Police, Civil Defence Force and cadets celebrating our Sri Lanka's independence. 3,461 members of the Sri Lanka Army will take part in the Independence Day Salute Parade. 69 vehicles, including armoured vehicles, have been included. 19 aircraft representing the Air Force will grace this airspace this time in the Independence Day Parade. 7 helicopters, 5 Mi-16 type airplanes and 3 jets are included among them. A contingent of 85 Air Force officers and 784 other ranks, accompanied by 28 armoured vehicles, will proudly march in the Independence Day Parade. 1,009 members of the Sri Lanka Navy will join the Independence Day celebrations. Meanwhile, the rehearsals of the Independence Day celebrations were conducted today in Golface. A special traffic plan was implemented in Colombo from 2 p.m. today to noon tomorrow. Roads from Kolpiti Junction to Golface and the roads from Ceramic Junction to Golface will be closed until the conclusion of the Independence Day ceremony. The Railways Department says that all trains on the coastal line will operate. Kolpiti and Bamlapiti railway stations will operate from 5 to 9 tomorrow morning. The 43rd Brigade stressed that Partly Champika Ranawaka will be the leader capable of reviving Sri Lanka from the current crisis. The 43rd Brigade expressed these views at the United Republican Front meeting in Kaduvilla today. We cannot find answers to the crisis in Sri Lanka. They are fake doctors. That is why we have come forward to introduce Partly Champika Ranawaka as a person who can revive the country. This country needs a good leader. Being a good leader is not just about showing one skill, but showcasing a wide range of skills. We think that Partly Champika Ranawaka has that ability, and that is why we should bring him as a candidate for this year's presidential election.
ජනාධිපතිවරණයට අපි කවුරුත් රොද බැලගෙන එතුමා ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න ඕනේ. අපි මේ රට ගොඩනගා ගැනීම සඳහා විද්‍යාත්මක කළමනාකරණයකට රට ගමන් කළ යුතුයි.
If we want to develop this country, we must move towards scientific management. On the 14th of February, we will be presenting the plan of the representatives of the political parties in the country. With that, we hope to bring a powerful political alliance with the important people in it. Therefore, if the presidential election or the general election comes, we are ready for it and we are making the necessary preparations here. With that program, we hope to create a broad political alliance in this country.
Who will be the SLPP candidate for the upcoming presidential election?
If we keep aside the success factor, we can see that this president acting relatively well. We see no disquality that would bar him from coming forward as a presidential candidate. If he is coming forward in an election, the SLPP must support him. But the SLPP is yet to decide the presidential candidate and their course of action. The SLPP has in no occasion released a statement regarding a candidate. We intend to nominate the best candidate.
Minister Manusha Nanayakara says the current president is the national candidate for the presidential election.
There is no need to win a position. It's all about the need to save the people of the country. The Sri Lanka Podujana Perumuna, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, the Janata Vimukti Perumuna, the Tamil National Alliance, and all the parties in this country can save the people of this country. Different alliances, ideologies, and groups will be formed, but in the end, Ranil Wickremesinghe will come forward as a national candidate to save this country and will become the leader of the nation.
Leader of the Jatika Jana Balawegaya, Anukumara Disanayaka, urges the people to embrace a path of progress and upliftment rather than one of grief and despair.
We only have two roads. Either we go on the old road, which has led us to the current state, and fall deeper into the pit, or we opt for a new journey and rise through a collective effort. We came here to invite you to embrace a path of progress and upliftment rather than one of grief and despair. We will rise again. If we are to awake the people for such a cause, we must be exemplary leaders. We will do our utmost best from our side. Our opponents are complex. If we lose, we will continue our politics from the next day. Even when we fell to 3%, we bounced back. Even if we lose, we will continue politics. If they lose, they will lose everything. I saw Namal Rajapaksa saying that their family has been in politics for 98 years. If they lose, the political journey of 98 years will halt. The political maps drawn and inherited by the next of kin in the family will cease to exist. The exploitation of public funds to live luxurious lives will stop. If we lose an election, we have nothing to lose. They will not leave any avenue untouched to ensure their success. Sri Lanka has seen 8 presidents, out of which only 5 are alive. Chandrika, Mahinda, Maithripala, Gotabaya and Ranil will unite in this election. Why is that? Because they have a lot to lose. But we are not entering this fight to lose, but to win. Leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa, says that the Speaker and the government have bypassed the recommendations given by the Supreme Court about the Online Safety Act and passed it to their advantage.
අපිට පෙනෙන ආකාරයට වර්තමාන කතානායකවරයා ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණය ලබා දුන්නු.
The way we see it is the current speaker signed this so-called Online Safety Act illegally, which works to safeguard politicians by turning a blind eye to some of the recommendations given by the Supreme Court. We analyze this through a group of lawyers in the SJB. They have not given the effect of the Supreme Court recommendations in 9 occasions. 123(4) of the Constitution makes it mandatory to include Supreme Court recommendations to draft bills. If you saw the footage, you would have seen the Speaker wearing headphones and ignoring the points raised by the opposition when the government was attempting to get this bill passed. The Speaker acted in the best interest of the government. This is a direct attack to parliamentary democracy. This is a destruction of democracy. We have no confidence in the Speaker's conduct. The Speaker's actions are shameful. We intend to take action against this in the near future. We will have to look into the level of faith the Speaker in his position holds in the Parliament.
ඉදිරියේදී කටයුතු කරනවා. කතානායකවරයාටත් මං හිතන්නේ Tamanට විශ්වාසයක් තියෙනවද නැද්ද කියන එක ගැන පාර්ලිමේන්තුවෙන් හොයා බලන අවස්ථාවක් අපිට ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්නට සිද්ධ වෙනවා.
Why is the government bringing repressive laws? The Frontline Socialist Party expressed their views today.
They are bringing suppression. Suppression through legal means has been attempted before with the implementation of the Prevention of Terrorism Act in 1978. However, its ineffectiveness is now evident. They need a new law to name those who peacefully protest as terrorists in the country. That is why this new Anti-Terrorism Act is being tabled. It brings new anti-democratic rules and regulations to make the right of speech a complete illegal act. They have passed it as well. It's not to solve these problems, but to make the society afraid. Why is that? It's because they have no ability to maintain their rule in the country. Ranil Wickremesinghe does not have the people's mandate. The Rajapaksas also does not have it. The only way they can control is through fear.
News First with the people.
A series of protests demanding economic justice took place in Colombo today, organized by the People's Collective for Economic Justice. The morning protesters gathered in Peta holding a demonstration opposite the A. Gunasinghe statue. A protest was held citing government's inefficiency, malpractices and waste, creating an unlivable living condition for the people.
A leader should be able to understand us. There is no point in shouting within closed doors without addressing the needs of the poor. They are now working towards their sustainability and to collect more votes. They are now focused on winning elections and not addressing the needs of the poor. Prices of goods differ in each shop. They have come into power and have forgotten about the people.
Local residents in Batticalo's Chenkaladi celebrated the grand opening of a newly renovated road today. The project, spearheaded by the community and funded with the public money, stands as a testament to their initiative and self-reliance. Originally built with public funds, the road underwent necessary renovations based on the requests from the local community. However, when it came to the opening ceremony, residents unanimously decided to forego involving politicians. Their reasoning was that the road was built with their own tax money, and they felt politicians had played no role in its renovation. Farmers in numerous regions are alleging a significant drop in rice prices following the government's decision to discontinue rice purchases through the Paddy Marketing Board.
Maha-season, known for the highest rice yield in the country, is currently underway in the north, central and eastern provinces. However, just before the harvest, the government announced it would not purchase paddy, leaving farmers in a difficult situation. Farmers allege that they are forced to sell their paddy at a loss in many areas. Many poorer farmers, under the purview of the Kantale Divisional Secretariat, are facing hardships due to the lack of a fair price for their crops.
Last year's fertilizer crisis already damaged our crops, and now just as we are about to reap our harvest, the government has lowered rice prices again. This sudden drop from 7,000 per unit to 5,000 leaves farmers like myself facing significant financial hardship. For the first time ever, a VAT increase of 1,750 rupees per fertilizer bundle has been imposed, along with VAT on farming equipment. Now on top of these increased costs, the paddy price has been reduced. At current rates, producing 1 kilogram of paddy costs us 115 rupees, yet we are expected to sell it only for 5,600 rupees. This leaves us with nothing to start the next Yala season, let alone afford food and clothes for our family.
Farmers in Moravava in Trincomalee are currently harvesting their crops but face a bleak outcome. They allege that traders are offering extremely low prices for their paddy due to the decision by the Paddy Marketing Board to stop buying produce.
We have to suffer greatly to produce this paddy. We have no relief. No one from the government comes to look at this. We suffer and produce this paddy and sell to miller for 81.5 rupees. How can we pay off our debt?
Newsfirst. Main sponsor.
Study in Australia with Edlocate. Visit us on 10th February at the Hotel Galadari.
All Ceylon Bakery Owners Association expressed views on the extraordinary gazette issued yesterday, making it mandatory to display the specified weight of loaf of bread and its price.
The Consumer Affairs Authority issued an extraordinary gazette yesterday, making it mandatory to display the specified weight of a loaf of bread and its price. Accordingly, the loaf of bread should weigh 450 grams and half a loaf should weigh 225 grams.
We noticed a void in the gazette published yesterday. I hope it will be rectified soon. It does not mention the type of bread, and I believe it is a must to mention this on the gazette. It is also mandatory to mention that these laws are applicable only for the normal loaves of bread that are baked on a daily basis, as there are 10 to 15 types of bread in the country currently.
The government of Sri Lanka and the World Bank signed a landmark agreement for a $150 million financial package to bolster the country's financial sector.
The government of Sri Lanka and the World Bank signed a significant agreement yesterday for a $150 million financial package aimed at strengthening the country's financial sector. This support, delivered through the Financial Sector Safety Net Strengthening Project, will focus on enhancing the resilience of the Sri Lanka Deposit Insurance Scheme. The project also aims to strengthen the financial and institutional capacity of the Sri Lanka Deposit Insurance Scheme in line with the international best practices for effective deposit insurance schemes.
Shifting your attention to international news, the United States started carrying out retaliatory strikes in Iraq and Syria in retaliation for last weekend's deadly attack in Jordan.
The US military launched airstrikes in Iraq and Syria against more than 85 targets linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard and the militants it backs in retaliation for last weekend's attacks in Jordan that killed 3 US troops. The strikes, which included the use of long-range B-1 bombers flown from the United States, were the first in a multi-tiered response by President Joe Biden's administration to the attack by Iran-backed militants, and more US military operations were expected in the coming days. While the strikes did not target sites inside Iran, they signaled a further escalation of conflict in the Middle East from Israel's nearly 4-month-old war with Palestinian Hamas militants in Gaza. Foreign media reported that a spokesperson from Iraq's prime minister says the US strikes are a violation of Iraq's sovereignty. General Yahya Rasool said that the strikes will bring disastrous consequences for the security and stability of Iraq and the region.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Primetime News on TV1. For details of these stories and much more, simply log on to our website www.newsfirst.lk. For the News First, where the people come first, I'm Martin Satyanes, and you take care and good night.